I wonder, guys, if anyone can see me. I'm not sure how to start the right transmission, live transmission. So if you are there, o, cześć bezuczuciowy. I wonder if it's okay if I will be speaking English, and just would like to know if you can hear me, because it's the first transmission, so I'm not sure if I can be heard and if you can see actually my screen recording. And how about my face? Is like everything can be seen? Okay, perfect. So I didn't really plan this. I just wanted to do my first transmission and see how it's going to work actually. What I want to do, simply speaking, I want to do maybe some walkthrough live, and if you will have any questions, I'd like you to ask the questions. When I will be talking about my retouching, if you will have any questions about my retouching, just ask me and I will try to show you how to do certain things doing your retouching. I wonder how I can do this to actually see the chat. I don't want to lose the chat that it's here, though when I'm actually trying to don't know what to do with the page really, because I want to see the chat, but I want to show you my retouching, so I need to figure out something. If you have any other idea how I can actually make my chat visible, let me know. But maybe I will jump straight to the retouching, what I did last time, and then I will go back to the questions. Need to okay, give me a few more minutes maybe, so I could set up the okay, perfect. I find out what to do. So we can close this now, and then I'll make just my Photoshop a little smaller. Should be perfect now. Yeah, I have to think about dual screen, so it's maybe not a perfect view. It's a little tiny over here, but I can see your questions right now. I can answer your questions about the retouching. So I will be talking, I will tell you what I did here, and if you will have any questions, just ask me, so I can give you some information about this retouching, or maybe I can show you. Okay, so this was the image before. You can see this is quite big difference, and this is actually raw image that you can see in the camera raw. That was exactly this image over here. As you can see, this was the starting image. Though I'm not really huge fan of starting the raw conversion in Camera Raw, and it's not that it's wrong, but there is some software that is actually a little bit better in terms of showing the colors. There is the software that actually show you the colors exactly how they are, and not changing them at all later when you start your work in Photoshop. So the software I'm actually using is Capture One, and here it is. It's a little bit different than Photoshop, a little bit different than Camera Raw, but I want to show you some of the difference. So I'm going to reset adjustments right now, and as you can see, this is the image I see in Capture One, raw image. It wasn't done anything to it, and this was the image somewhere here, and this is the image that I see in Photoshop, and it's actually after some conversion. So let me reset the defaults. It actually looks worse than that, so I wasn't honest with you. It looks a little bit different. So this is how you can see the image in Camera Raw, and that's how exactly the same image looks in Capture One. So we could say that colors are much more alive, a little bit stronger and more saturated. It doesn't make Capture One necessarily better for you, because of course it depends on your needs, what you need to do later with Photoshop, though it's sort of personal preference. I like the fact that the colors are so saturated. I like the fact that the colors are a little bit stronger, which gives me much more possibilities to work later with conversion. I can manipulate with the colors a little bit more. I can change the colors if there is such a need. So let's jump to Photoshop quickly. That was the image before. I was telling you even more than that, it was worsened. I'm going to turn off this before, and this was the edit, and this is the image where I got after raw conversion, and I did raw conversion in Capture One. And as you can see, when we compare this image to Capture One and to Photoshop, we can clearly say that I changed the color of the background a little bit compared to the original background that this image had. And many of you could actually disagree with this decision, but I'm going to show you some really cool thing. Let me open some browser. So why I actually got with this blue color, I'm going to open website Color Scheme Designer, and if you are retoucher, if you are designer, and this will be super useful page for you, which shows color harmonies in the very nice way. It's not necessarily this one, that will be here, I believe. Okay, probably it doesn't tell you anything much about the colors, but okay, let's jump back. So as you can see, we have sort of gray background, but it has some of the maybe purple color in it. So as long as it's not gray, it gives us a lot of possibilities of working with color. And the skin tone always has orangey tones. So in the perfect world, if we have simple portrait and skin tones always, no matter what skin color you are or what skin color is your model, the skin tone always has the orange tones. So in the perfect world, if we work with simple example with complementary colors which work in the opposite way, so if you have red element of your image and you want this element stand out, it would be great if the this red element will be on the green background, because it's going to stand out. And the same way, if we have orange skin tones and you want model stand out, it would be really great to have blue background. So this is actually the easiest way of working if you want the image to stand out. Hi, learn Photoshop photography, and hi, Ebuo. Yes, even if the model is from Africa, I understand the question is even if the model has black skin color. Yes, no matter what skin color, if you check the hue of the skin, even if it's the dark skin model, the hue will be in orange tones. There will be, of course, differences in the light, but the hue always will be orange. If the model is very white or the model is brown, the skin tones are always orange. So it makes the best background, simply speaking, for any model will be blue. Of course, it's not the rule that the background has to be blue, because we have few different color harmonies. We can have analogic color harmony, so it can be even orange background, but then you have to make the model more stand out in different way, maybe using the lights. But when we have the opposite color to the model skin tone, we don't have to do actually maybe that much effort, because the image stands out itself by the colors it has. So for help, when you start, I recommend you to open this website, Color Scheme Designer, and we have few different color theories. Mono, color harmonies, of course. We have mono, so there will be just one color. Complementary, as I mentioned, in complementary color harmony, we have two colors, one primary and one secondary, and the colors works in opposition to each other. So we have as a primary red color, as a secondary will be green color if you want the image to stand out. We have triadic color harmony as well, so we have one primary color and two secondary colors that stands very close to each other, so it's more like split complementary color harmony. I believe you get that. For example, over here, as you can see, we have a red and opposite as a green, but we split this for two different colors that are in the same distance from each other. Have triadic, we have, simply speaking, four different colors staying in opposition to each other, and dimension analogic. So analogic color harmony is when the colors are very similar to each other, and it's not wrong. It's probably a little bit more difficult to work with it, and it requires a little bit more experience about how you retouch, because you have to see the color harmony, so you have to know how to work with color to make the image simply looks interesting. And how you can actually train your eyes with the color, I recommend you to go to galleries to look at the art, because they always have great color harmonies. My personal favorite is Van Gogh. He always used color harmonies in amazing way, and you can see this even in Google. As you can see, that was really perfect example how he used yes, you can use color schemes in Photoshop also. There is color wheel in Photoshop you can open. I really prefer to use just color scheme designer. I don't know, it's just like I got used to this way. So getting back to the subject, as you can see, Van Gogh was really master of using color harmonies, and there was a lot of yellows in his work. Here, for example, we have perfect example. Why I cannot open? Okay. Really great example of analogic color harmonies. He was really master of using complementary color harmonies, as you can see. So the same as color harmonies exist in the art, we apply them into photography as well. The other source where you can train your eye visually on color harmonies. You can check fashion magazines. More likely in good fashion magazines there will be really good color harmonies, and it's often represented by different elements. For example, when the model has red clothes, quite common is to see a green background or blue background or maybe orangey background, if that would be analogic color harmony. So once you understand and read about color harmonies, you will start seeing them in everyday life, that everyone and a lot of areas using color harmonies. So going back to our image, that was the main reason why I decided to change this background a little bit into blue, because I wanted to go with simple complementary color harmony. And what I do for beauty retouch, how I prepare myself for beauty retouch in a raw conversion. You can also do similar raw conversion in a camera raw. Of course, you have to adjust the colors manually. It will be a little bit more difficult because the colors look a little bit different in camera raw, though it can be done. So the first step, on the top, if you don't have Capture One, you can download the trial version for 30 days for free. Then you will have to pay, but for 30 days it will be free. So the first part is working with exposure and high dynamic range. The image tends to have sometimes maybe a little bit too much of contrast. So what we want to do, because you will be cleaning the details, I mean spots on the face, so you want to see as many details as possible on the image. So you want to take down some of the highlights by dragging this highlight slider. As you can see, when I drag this to the right side, her highlights getting darker, which automatically makes her spots more visible. And this is maybe not such a great example, because we have much worse an example, as over here this image would be blown out, so for sure I would have to go down with highlights over here to see more details. This example is not that bad, as you can see it's well balanced. I'm sorry. And the other thing, we want to bring up a little bit more details from the shadows, and the reason is the same. When the image is very dark, we cannot see the details to clean them. So I'm bringing up just few points because it doesn't have very dark shadows, and I would go with this. So very small change, I took down some highlights and brought up some of the shadows. Of course you can change the exposure, work a little bit with brightness if it's needed. It depends on your need, but remember, in raw conversion you want to prepare your image for retouch, so this is the main thing. After this basic step, I usually go to the local adjustments, this little brush over here on the top, and I'm going down to the color editor. Color editor will be also in here in the colors, but I usually work through local adjustments, because if I need, I can create a new layer, so I can have very separate control on the colors. I won't be talking about this in depth, I just want to show you quick raw conversion I do. So then color editor, and this is a huge advantage over camera raw, because we have this eyedropper. So what we can do with the eyedropper, we can pick exactly the existing tones that it's there. So for example, if I want to work with the background, I can hit with this eyedropper on the background, and I can see the hue value and saturation value over here. So the hue is 260, saturation 24. I believe it's saturation. I hope I'm not making any mistake. If I go to other place, as you can see, hue 240, so it's somewhere in between 240 260. I was telling you that skin always have orange tones, so just to prove this, let me hit on her skin tone, hue 35. I can show you in color scheme designer. I remember, I think you're asking because you don't want to watch. Yes, I probably put this on my channel. It will be available. um, I wouldn't call this tutorial, I just want to talk about the image I did. So going back, the skin tone hue is 35, and you can, an opposite for this hue will be 215. So the perfect hue for the skin tone in this case will be 215, but what we can see, the hue is somewhere between 240 and 250. So what I want to do, using these sliders, I'm going down with the hue. Did it affect? If it did, okay. So as you can see, the background got a little bit more bluish. What I'm going to do as well, I'm going to improve some of the saturation. It's not so much, so I'm going to take down hue also from the other selection and improve the saturation. So what you can see, the background got a little bit more bluish, still not as much as I wish, but we got a little bit more control. If you want to work more with colors, I recommend you to go to back to your color balance, which is over here. Will be that panel. This panel is called as just color, yeah. So we have in this panel other panel, I don't know if this right naming, called color balance. So most of the shadows exist in the blue over here in the background, so we can simply go with the blue color for the shadows, because we know that the most of the shadows exist on the background, and we could go a little bit over here with the warm tone for the skin. I would say optional, I wouldn't go too far. So this is something we want this image look in Photoshop when we start the work. So that's how I would prepare the image for Photoshop. One thing I don't really like is a little bit skin feels a little bit oversaturated, so I would jump into skin tone, choose eyedropper, and pick the skin tone. As you can see, hue 36 right now, very similar. So what I would do, I would take down a little bit of the saturation for the skin tone, and this is all the work I do in Capture One. What then we need to go to output, and as an process receipt for the output, I always work with TIFF file, which is the biggest, and it's 16-bit image. It has more of the information just as raw image. You don't want to work with JPEG. So for me, I prefer to work with TIFF. Unfortunately, we cannot open this straight away in Photoshop, but we have to save this first. So TIFF profile, I have ProPhoto. It would be alright to work with Adobe RGB. There is not really huge difference with it. Adobe RGB is totally fine. Many people say to you just work with ProPhoto RGB. No, you can work with Adobe RGB. Will be fine. And that's it. Then you have to set destination folder and hit process, and then your image exactly looking like this will be saved as a TIFF file. Okay, so that would be the raw process. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to open what I have here in Photoshop. Of course, this image is cropped right now, but it's exactly the same image after raw conversion. And I won't be going in depth with the editing. I'm just going to do walkthrough. And if you want my courses, I forgot to tell you, I set them for very low prices, $10 and $15 in the description. So they will be available for the time of this stream. Anyway, and also after the stream, I give you a link in the description to Skillshare. You can get 1 month for free, and you can watch my premium courses as well. So after 1 month, you can leave and you won't pay anything. Okay, we are in editing group. So this is the image after raw conversion. So first step, what we need to do, we need to clean up the image. And very important, remember there is no shortcuts in Photoshop. There is not one button that you can hit and your image and you will fix the skin. No, this process is to do manually, and to do this I always use healing brush tool, hard edged brush tool, and I'm just creating new layer. As you can see, sample I have set as a current below, and what I do, I just clean the spots, as you can see, just that way. So it will take maybe 20 minutes to clean the spots. I'm not going to show you all process, of course, because it's waste of the time. That's how it looks. I'm cleaning the spots. I don't want the skin, blur out the skin, so I'm just doing this very soft. The problem with the model was her face was a little hairy, so how to resolve that? And you can actually work with clone stamp, and many people would say don't use soft edged clone stamp brush, but don't listen to them. You can do anything you want as long as your results will be good. So sometimes we can lose just a little bit of the skin texture if it's actually going to help to the image, and skin texture always can be recovered. So if I want to sort out this hairy face over here, what I would do, just use soft edged clone stamp and try to cover this a little, just like this. As you can see, it looks a little better and it doesn't look like we're ruining skin texture. So this process would take a while, and after this the image looks like this. You can see how the process looks like. So maybe it was 20 minutes of work, as you can see. No, probably wasn't. I'm going to myself set up some water for the tea. So that was the process. As you can see, there was some of the work on the eyebrow. Sorry for the noise in the background, and sorry for the noise from the aircon. I'm living in Hong Kong. It's really hot right now here. So okay, cleanup process. That's how the image looks like. After cleanup, the other step you always have to do is touch and burn. If you do beauty retouching, of course. I didn't call this. I want to see. Sorry, I didn't set the. Oh, okay. Maybe I could name this beauty retouching. Live. Okay. So in beauty retouching, always the second step you do is dodging and burning, and dodging and burning is simply painting with the light, and I always use curves to do this. So you can see this group is my dodge and burn. I need to rename this as a DB, which is dodge and burn. So this is before, this is after dodge and burn, and the difference is huge because it's even more work than on the cleaning up layer, and that's how it looks like. The white parts are the areas where I actually painted, and I want to show you quickly how it's done. You see, skin is not very flat texture, so you have to work on this. I'm simply using two curve adjustment layers. One, I'm going up with curve, and I'm going to call this dodge, and then I'm going to invert the layer mask, because white layer mask makes everything what's on this adjustment layer visible. When you turn this into black, it will be invisible. So I'm going to press Command or Control and I, and I'm inverting this, and the other adjustment layer will be darkening, So I'm going to call this as a burn. And also invert this. So these two adjustment layers right now are black and invisible. Just want to know if everything is clear for you guys for now. Now it might be a little bit confusing at first. I guess maybe everything is right. Okay, so what we do, we need to now paint on this layer. I inverted them, they are not visible, but if I'm going to paint with the brush, I'm going to press B on my keyboard and choose the brush and paint with the white color on this layer mask. I will be bringing, as you can see, the effect that is inside here. And if I will be painting on the burn, I will be darkening. So what I do, I use soft edged brush and I change the flow very soft, and then I just paint on this image, looking for the areas that, of course not here, I'm burning the areas that are dark, just using very small sized brush, as you can see, and also I'm painting with the white color on the burn the areas that are too bright. I'm helping usually myself with black and white layer because I can see the lights a little bit better, and you can see that's how we did here. That's how I work all the time, and the final result looks more like this. The next part I'm doing is working with the contrasts, and for the contrast I do the same. I use curve adjustment layers for the contrasts. As you can see, huge difference. So I build the masks. There's few different ways to do contrasts. You can use image, apply image, you can use channels, you can make your own luminosity masks in channels, you can use color range to build this sort of masks. So I built one mask for highlights, one mask for shadows. I did a little bit for the eyes as well. Oh, okay. So with this mask, and later I'm just actually what I do, I'm dragging the curves to set up the balance between this. After contrasts, I'm working with the tones. So for the tones, I use the same masks. I'm creating the masks for shadows, highlights, background, whatever I need over here. This mask actually wasn't perfectly created. As you can see, should paint her eyes over to not affect this, but I don't believe it was affected because it's totally different color. And by creating this different mask, I work with color balance, also remembering about color harmonies. Of course, different color for the shadows, different for the highlights. And my final step for this sort of retouching, I'm creating a stamp on the top. To create a stamp, you can just press Command, Option, Shift and E, as you can see on your keyboard, and you will create a stamp. And then I'm going to hit Control and hit on this layer, and I'm converting this to Smart Object so I can work non-destructively. So what I do, after I do this, I'm just simply going to Camera Raw Filter. Through, of course, you need to hit Filter, then Camera Raw Filter, and I'm adjusting everything a little more what I need: highlights, shadows, hue and saturation, till the level I will be fully happy, just as you can see the small difference. And at the end I had few fixes on the eyebrows. Wasn't perfect. That's how the whole process looks like. I know it was fast. I actually wanted to do just this live stream and see how the live stream is going to work. I want to do more discussions about my retouch. I have actually a lot of retouching work that I would like to share with you. I would like to show you. You can see there is a lot of images I was working on that were published in magazines. So sometimes I would like to just show you this sort of work and maybe tell you what I did here. Where was it published, how to get published, how to find raw, how to find people to collaborate with you. I believe this information could be valuable for you. So let me know what you're thinking about this live stream. In the description you can find access to this class where I do all the process separately. I explain everything very clear for 30 days free, of course. And let me know what you want to see in the live streams, if you would like to see them in the future, of course, because maybe you don't, so I will not be doing them in the future. Okay, any questions, anyone? No questions. I'm glad that some of you actually were watching this. Maybe some of you just watching this but not really paying attention. But I'm still very happy that some of you decided to watch. And well, okay, so hue saturation. So at the very beginning, you mean? The what? Not really. I don't use frequency separation because it's actually quite destructive for the skin texture. Many people say that frequency, I used to say this as well, it can be good if you use this in right way, but the thing about frequency separation, it's really easy to overdo this, and if you work on the color layer, you will be knocking down the tones, which can make your image look a little bit flat. If you want to work with frequency separation, I only recommend you to work on the high layer, and I can show you how to work with frequency separation right now. And the what I will publish this live stream, but if you would be interested, I don't really want to force you to do this. You can see this page, it's Skillshare. I will put the link in the description at the end, link, and you can actually get 1 month membership for free on Skillshare, and after 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you can leave and you will not pay anything, and then you can actually watch quite many of my classes, including this one, because I recorded this short course first, explaining everything very clear, and I also have much more classes over here on Skillshare, so you can all join for free and watch some of my classes for 1 month for free. So the decision is up to you. I don't really want to force you to join, but you're not losing anything. But the other option, I will publish this live stream online anyway. So Andres Sanchez, I don't work with frequency separation, but I don't mind to show you example. If I would work with frequency separation, it happens maybe 10% of the time. I don't mind to show you how I work with this. Let me find some image first. I want to choose the image that you'd like to see. Is there any image you'd like to see me retouching? I should download the images from my Dropbox before. Because I have some of the examples. I think I will only have the images I was showing you. So okay, I will show you on this example, maybe. Or I'm going to quickly do some conversion, and we jump into the frequency separation. Maybe this image should be okay. I will just do quickly in camera raw. I hope you don't mind. I just want to show you. Okay. Always when I work in a camera raw, I press shift to open the image, to open it as an object and not as an image later in Photoshop. Because if I open this as an object, you know, what I can do later, I can just double hit on this and I will go back to a camera raw with the same settings, just in case if something is not right. Okay, I want to show you. So frequency separation. This technique, there was a lot of talk online about frequency separation, and I don't really like this because after it got some fame, it started to be overused or used in the wrong way. So let me create frequency separation. What's frequency separation? Simply speaking, we split the image into two separate layers. One layer is supposed to contain the texture and the other layer is supposed to contain the colors. It's not 100% like this, but in like very simple terms, we can agree on that. So I'm going to create one layer, which is let's call this color, because we agreed on that. Or maybe low frequency will be more accurate. And I'm going to duplicate this layer, and this will be high frequency. This is just basic, so like I believe you've seen a lot of tutorials about low and high frequency, and I haven't been doing this for a while. I hope I don't do any mistake. So low frequency is supposed to contain the colors, and so what we do, we don't want texture, we don't care about texture, we only care about colors. We going to blur out this low frequency, and we going to blur this out till the level we will not see some of the details. So we don't see a spot, we don't see hair, maybe around this. For this image it's around the radius about 17 pixels. Of course, don't copy this information from me because it depends on your image. It depends how your image looks like and the size of your image. You just blur out this layer till the level you see the small spots and the details blurred out. When it's around this, you hit OK, and then we go back to the high frequency. wrong. High. Okay. And with high frequency, I want to do sort of inverted part. I will not be working with colors, but just the texture. So I'm creating just the texture. High Wildan. I wasn't doing this image, but I believe the lens was 50 millimeters because it's studio, and I don't really know more details, but it's the lens would not create any bokeh. It's quite wide for studio images. That would be the best choice. So going back to high frequency, I want to create some texture, so I'm going to image and apply image. And this is 16-bit image, so the layer that we're going to actually exclude, the information will be low frequency, and blending will be as an add. For 16-bit there is add, and this invert box will be checked. I'm thinking if I did this right, because I barely remember, but I think it's okay. So hit OK. Here we have texture, and you know, my problem is many people actually saying that frequency separation split the color and texture, and it's not 100% true, because what you can see over here, we can still see some of the color on this layer, so it's not 100% sure that we split the color and texture. If people who say that don't say fully true or just don't know. But anyway, we need to change this blending mode into linear light, and then I'm going to put this all to the group. FS as frequency separation. So that's how we build the layers for frequency separation, and now we will be able to start working. So what many people do is they tell you work on low frequency so you will not destroy the texture. But the problem with low frequency I'm going to present you now. I'm not going to work on this layer, I'm just going to copy this low frequency because I want to remove this later, so I'm going to keep this. And to have full control, I'm actually going to hit right on this, and I'm going to convert this to smart object, which gives me nice control on the blur. So we are working on the color right now, but not fully. You can use this. I know many professional retouchers and photographers who still use frequency separation, but you really have to be careful with this. Don't overdo, don't do this over like edges, etc. I'm going to blur out a little bit her skin tones to even them out, because as you can see there's many imperfections that are irregular on the skin. So I'm going to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. Sorry if you hear the rain, just started raining. Welcome to Hong Kong again. Let me close the doors. Should be a little bit better. So what we do with this low frequency, I'm going up with the radius, and I want to see a little bit when the colors even out. I will stay here around this level. So you bring it up some of the radius to even out the skin tones, then hit OK. And by the fact I actually created smart object, if it's not right I can change the radius anytime I want. I can just open and change the radius. Okay, so how I work, I create layer mask over here. Let me know if everything is clear for now. And I invert this, so this is invisible now. What I'm looking for is the tones which are irregular, right? The colors which are irregular. I will choose a brush and white color of the brush, and then with the white brush I will paint in the areas where I want to even out the colors, the tones a little. So I do this very softly. You see, I'm not trying to overdo this image, but that's how I work. If I would, but maybe I should start saying from the point that I actually never work on the low layer. I'm just going to show you this right now. Oh, thank you, Wildan. I will think about this. Maybe you could leave the subjects under this live stream, so I just can have ideas, and you ask me what you want me to record, and I will be recording. So I'm painting with this white brush in the areas that I want to even out the colors, right? So if I work this way, I do this very, very carefully, so I'm not going to destroy the image. And I don't want to point the names on YouTube. There is many people who were showing you how to use frequency separation, and what they were doing, they were simply showing you how to ruin your image. So that's how you work. Just, you can see I'm just painting this because I created this smart object here. I blur this out a little, and I paint on this mask in the area where I want to even out the skins a little. This allows you to be very careful in what you do. And the change is not that drastic, but you can see before, after, before. Pay attention to this part, for example. We have very regular colors. After this, it's a little bit better. That's how you want to work. You don't want to overdo this. Also here, before, after. And the most important part is actually working on the high frequency layer, which is normal cleaning up. I would choose clone stamp in this case, and most often to clean everything I would work with hard edged brush. And remember one thing, that you want to have current layer selected, because we work on this high frequency. And I'm just going to clean up just using clone stamp, and that's how it works. This is just as normal cleaning up. So the layer below is could work for you if you want to even out the tones a little bit, and the top layer is for cleaning up, and it will really work, the top layer, if you need to even out some of the texture. Like, look, this image has a lot of hair, so I would do scene once again, and what I would do, I would actually change the hardness down to 0 and use this soft brush. Don't tell anyone that I do this, because they will say, oh, it's so wrong, you cannot do this, he's stupid, but you can do everything. And with this soft edged brush, I would just even out the areas that are super harsh. So look, this all hair, too harsh, I would even this out. It's very softly, you can see. So this is only one way how I work with frequency separation if I have really harsh skin. I remember I had example, the model had a lot of spots on her face because she was allergic, and it was fashion session, but there was few beauty shots, and her face was all in the spots, which would be very difficult actually to clean on the empty layer and then later using Dutch and Burn. It would be possible to do, but it would be actually very time taking. So what I did, simply I created frequency separation and just was doing this, a little bit smaller brush, clone stamp, and I tried to even out the skin very softly to not lose the details, if I was losing details, I was copying the skin texture from other parts and applying, but that's how I resolved the issue of harsh skin. This skin actually is very good. The only one problem here would be the hair. But if you have like really skin that was obviously with some allergy or just way too much spots, think of using high frequency and clone stamp to try even this out with the soft edged brush as I'm doing, but do this very careful to not actually destroy the image. So this is I hope answering you before, after, after. Very soft change, because you want to be very soft, you don't want to make artificial look. So that's how I work with frequency separation. I hope it answers some of your questions. I'm going to give you my Instagram. Hi Yusuf and hi Katrina, and nice to see you here. I was talking before to others that if you want live streams, just give me subjects later in the comments, and I will be trying to do. My Instagram is Marcin M90. This is my Instagram. And no problem, Andre. Was it helpful? I'm wondering if actually it wasn't helpful, because probably in the live stream everything going very fast, sometimes difficult to catch up. But I hope it's clear. Remember to never overuse this low layer. Sometimes just give up on this and don't do this because it's not necessary. But what you want to do, if you have rough skin, work a little bit on the top layer if you have to, but there is no need, because most of the work you can do on empty layer using healing brush tool and clone stamp. Okay, my Instagram, if you want to follow. I'm publishing quite much work recently on my Instagram. I hope to do a lot. I usually monthly I do maybe 2 retouching works, fashion retouching works. So that's my Instagram. It's I share mostly fashion, because actually fashion is the area I'm mostly interested, and sometimes I just post some of the personal images. I'm not from Hong Kong, but I live here, so just sometimes sharing images of Hong Kong. This is the recent work. I still have few more images to post. It was for magazine Dreaming Less with my great friend photographer Zuzia. Model was Alesia Kafelnikova, Russian model. She's in London, I think. A really good model. And remember to check Zuzia. We work together a lot. We have new projects coming on. So that's my Instagram. This was actually the project I really like. I posted only 3 images from it. Oh, no problem. I had once other Instagram that I stopped using. I'm really glad to know this well done, and really happy, Andre, it was helpful. I really love this project I was doing. Once again, I was doing with Zuzia, my friend, photographer, with a beautiful model, and with fashion designer Helavager. She was designing clothes, and this was something very, very different. I really loved this project, especially by the fact that there was a lot of colors. It was a little bit challenging, but this session looks like it's out of from the Mars. As you can see, beautiful designs. I didn't change the colors over here. Sorry if I'm bored, I'm just talking about what I did. The colors were much softened. For example, on this there was a little bit of cyan color and a little bit of red, so I thought I could actually make them much stronger to make this image very dynamic. So I brought a lot of cyan and green color and warm up over here, brought up a lot of contrast, push up the highlights because it was very dark. So thanks to this, and the image stand out, as well as the other ones had great color. As you can see, very strong highlights, something I really like. Some of my other interesting projects. This one, and this was actually very challenging about skin texture. It looks as her skin is quite good, but that was, I don't want to go in the details, but this image was quite challenging about retouching, but I love them. The model is beautiful, the colors of the image were beautiful, the pink backdrop, I really love this. Some other black and white. This was quite big retouching with Chloe Lloyd, another quite big name in the model industry. We hit the cover of the magazine, and I was quite rushing with this retouch. And this cover, I'm dreaming like till now that it's wrong. And the issue is these tiny shadows. I would knock it down a little bit more. I hope you can see it. So I'm looking at this image and I say, here, horrible. How can I did this many mistakes here? One mistake. I will show you something. I have this session with Chloe Lloyd. So, hey Cole, nice to see you here. I'm experimenting with some live stream. So I was mentioning this image. It was great. Many people really like this session, but I don't know how I missed this, and I should actually dodge and burn this shadow a little bit here. I don't feel it look great. I feel it could look better. I shouldn't say that because no one paid attention to this shadow as long as I'm not mentioning this. So even for myself to not see this, I knocked down this shadow just to feel better after the magazine was published, as you can see. I will try to do more live streams. Right now I'm just about to finish. I was just trying to share some information, and I feel it could be much more fun to live stream. I can have some connection with, talk to people and answer questions, and even like you, we can share the knowledge together. Like whoever asked the question, we can experiment with some images. I hope I will find some more images to share with you, so we could maybe do some color work together. Okay, some of you came right now. I'm about to finish this live stream because it's 1 a.m. already here. I usually sleep quite late, but I need to do a few more things. So I will pause this live stream. I hope I will not remove this because that was my first live stream, so I wonder how to save this actually. Does anyone knows how to actually save this and post? Maybe over here. I hope I'm not going to remove this live stream. I will try to pause this. So thank you everyone for watching. please let me know if you know how to pause this. So I'm trying to find out before I finish up the. Thank you, well done. Many people is saying that, and like I feel it looks quite natural because everyone has this shadow over here, and it just feeling like, oh, I could do probably a little bit better work. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So if I pause this video, let me know in the comments what you would like to talk next time. So I have a lot of time. I could do these live streams maybe quite often, as long as the subject will be going on. So thank you everyone for watching. I will not be staying longer. I really appreciate it that some of you appear, that some of you ask questions and say hi. It really means a lot. If no one would do this, I probably not record anymore, but I will be recording again. So remember to send me questions. So have a nice day. For some of you, have a good night, as I am. Bye bye.